I am First Nation, zip it up about white supremacy. That's just an easier ticket to use against other people. When you use that, you're just as racist as they are. I don't believe you're an Indigenous person, but it is not lost on me that Indigenous people, just because you're a person of color, whatever that color is, whatever that race is, does not mean that you are immune to the systems of white supremacy. Because white supremacy is inherently rooted into all of our systems. It's why when Johnny MacDonald was talking about giving Indigenous people the right to vote, he did not want to do so because he, end quote, said, it would take away from the rights of white men. He was our first prime minister. White supremacy is not just an attitude or way of thinking, it also extends to how systems and institutions are structured to uphold this white dominance. This is a book called Me and White Supremacy. It's by Layla F. Said. I hope I'm saying that right. I am talking about the historic and modern legislating, societal conditioning, systemic institutionalizing of the construction of whiteness as inherently superior to people of other races. Yes, outwardly racist systems of oppression like chattel slavery, apartheid, and racial discrimination in employment have been made illegal, but the subtle and overt discrimination, marginalization, abuse, and killing of BIPOC in white-dominated communities continues even today because white supremacy continues to be the dominant paradigm under which white societies operate. White supremacy is a system you have been born into. Whether or not you have known it, it is a system that granted you unearned privileges, protection, and power. It is also a system that has been designed to keep you asleep and unaware of what having that privilege, protection, and power has meant for people who do not look like you. What you receive for your whiteness comes at a steep cost for those who are not white. This may sicken you and cause you to feel guilt, anger, and frustration, but you cannot change your white skin color to stop receiving these privileges, just like BIPOC cannot change their skin color to stop receiving racism. But what you can do is wake up to what is really going on. I invite you to challenge your complicity in this system and work towards dismantling it within yourself and the world. This work is for people who hold white privilege. By any person, I mean persons of any gender identity, including gender nonconforming persons, and by who holds white privilege, I mean persons who are visibly identifiable as white or who pass for white. Therefore, this includes persons who are biracial, multiracial, or white passing people of color who benefit under systems of white supremacy by having lighter skin tones than visibly brown, black, or Indigenous people. This part is specifically for you, if you are an Indigenous person. An important note for biracial, multiracial, or people of color who hold white privilege. Your experience of doing this work will be very different from the experiences of white people who are not biracial, multiracial, or people of color. While you receive the same benefits of white privilege from being lighter skinned and white passing, that does not mean you have the same experience as a white person. You might have white parents or ancestors, or perhaps you are not white at all, but are instead a person of color who is lighter skinned, white passing, or white adjacent. Your white privilege does not erase or minimize your other identities or experiences. So while it is important for you to do the work to address your internalized white supremacy and white privilege, you will need to adjust the questions to better fit your experience as a person who holds white privilege but is not white. Depending on your specific white privilege, some journals prompts might take you deeper than others. It's important to know that this work will bring up some challenging feelings around your internalized oppression against yourself and your marginalized identities, and about how you have also been oppressed by a system that only benefits you to the extent that you are able to present or pass as white or be anti-black. White people are not systemically oppressed by the systems at large. They can be oppressed, but they're not oppressed because of their race. They were always granted the right to vote. You can be a person of color who's a woman who is oppressed for being a person of color and also being a woman. You can be a man who's a person of color and not be oppressed for being a man, but be oppressed for being a person of color. This is what we call intersectional feminism. This is the acknowledgement that there's layers and nuance to this conversation. And to say that people hold white privilege does not mean that I'm racist towards white people. It means the system benefits white people. And I myself have benefited from that system, because I myself, as somebody who is white presenting but has seen racism towards Black people, marginalized communities, Indigenous people, I can acknowledge that I've seen that happen in my day-to-day. I've heard what people have said about people of color because they think I'm white. And I've been in cars with men on dates who go off about Indigenous people and how much they hate them, and then had to grapple with, do I tell this person that I am actually Indigenous, or are they actually not just racist, but like a white supremacist, and I'm going to face physical repercussions for the fact that they did not know that they were with a person of color. And not only that, but for Indigenous people, there's this layer, if you are Indigenous, and I don't know if you are. Are you? I don't know. But if you are, there's this layer that we have to unpack as well, that this belief system of white being better was beat into children from a very young age for generations. So, I mean, you can, I've come up against this. It's always someone with a no profile picture, ironically, right? You can be racist and a person of color. That happens. We saw an entire group of people vote against their own interest because they thought that they were outside of that group that was going to be removed from the United States. And what's happening now? It doesn't matter because skin tone, like to a white, any color is not good. It doesn't matter what your legal status is. It doesn't matter. And none of those things matter. And we see this, and this is how it plays out long term, is we see that it doesn't matter. Like, you can champion for white people all you want, but at the end of the day, the ones that really care about this type of language so much so that they don't want to be addressed, those people will not care how much you champion them, because at the end of the day, you will always be an Indigenous person if you actually are. Someone, a white man actually commented one time that white passing people or white presenting people are dangerous. Why? Because we can be in situations where we see and hear what's actually being said and what's going on, and we can see behind the curtain of pretending to be a certain way. And not all white people. I have tons of white people who follow me who have great conversations about this and who deconstruct. But if you're a white person just pretending to be a person of color,